Hey, what's up, guys? Here on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we do here is fire. You guys know the drill. So let's get right to the YouTube show I have for you guys today. So, like I said, we're going to be going over, we got a lot to get to, ladies and gentlemen. A lot. Let me just do one thing. Ready? Bang! Oh, yeah. So if you guys don't know, here is a fire. Just kidding. That's what we had. What we did, like in the beginning of our YouTube show. I did one of those stupid things, but we got it back. So we're gonna be using that as just a light, to implement the fire in this podcast. So let's get right to it. We're gonna be going over 3 monster segments. First up, we're gonna be going over college basketball, men's and women's, the brackets and how they kind of went. On Wednesday, I'll go over what happening with my bracket. Here on Recap Monday. It's a great day. March 25th, my birthday, turning 20 years old today is ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Now, first up, we are going over, like I said, men's and women's college basketball, March Madness bracket. Then we're going to be going over the NFL changes that are made. And we're going to be going over the Ohtani Scandal and see what's happening there. So let's go right into men's college basketball. So men's college basketball right now. Let me share my screen for y'all. Share that screen right there so you guys can go get the thing, what's happening. All right, so if you guys look at it right here, right? Right now, we're going into the Sweet 16. So the first round, actually, you know what? You guys can see this. Let me just read it here. Okay, so we had the first round. We had UNC take down Wagner. They advanced. We had Michigan State take down Mississippi State. They advanced. No, not Mississippi State. Yeah, Mississippi State. We had number 13 Charleston lose to number 4 Alabama. They advanced. We had Grand Canyon upset St. Mary's on Friday. That was ridiculous. They advanced. Then you had Michigan State take on UNC, and UNC dominated Michigan State in the last couple minutes of that game. And they moved on to face Alabama, who goes and plays Grand Canyon and outscores them like 12-2 in the last like minute and a half. It was ridiculous. Grand Canyon was playing amazing, and then Alabama just stormed by for like a 12-2 run. So now it's number 4 Alabama versus number 1 UNC Thursday, March 28th at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time to see who will go to the Elite Eight. Now, we move from there. We are going to scroll down. On third, we had Arizona take down Long Beach State. They moved on to the second round to verse number 7 Dayton. Gets a monster win over number 10 Nevada. The number 10 Nevada, like I said on Friday, had that game. But Dayton played well enough to win. So then Arizona took on Dayton on Saturday, and Arizona got the 10-point win. A close one, somewhat high-scoring game. But Arizona is going to play Clemson. You had Baylor take down Colgate. You had Clemson demolish New Mexico. A lot of people picked New Mexico, including me, to win this game. But Clemson gets the win, which was very weird. And then Clemson beats Baylor yesterday. Who would have thought? They kind of controlled the basis of the game. Baylor missed a ton of free throws. They had a chance to tie the game. The guy missed 2 free throws, and that was it. So it's number 2 Arizona taking on number 6 Clemson Thursday, March 28th at 7:09 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm taking Arizona with the win. Now we move down as we had DeQuenz take down BYU in a shocker as they advanced to who played Illinois, who then Illinois demolished them and now plays on Thursday, March 28th at 10:09 p.m. Eastern Time against Iowa State. Yeah, number 2 Iowa State take down number 15 San Diego State to advance to play Washington State at number 7, and then Iowa State killed Washington State. So it's number 3 Illinois versus number 2 Iowa State, Thursday, March 28th, 10:09 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm probably going to stick with Iowa State here. I think Iowa State's got the only, if not the best, chance to beat UConn. Now we move down as Northwestern gets a big win in overtime over Florida Atlantic to advance to play UConn, which UConn demolished Destin, and then UConn demolished Northwestern to face the defending. I think this was the championship last year which was San Diego State versus number 1 UConn. So this is going to be rematch to go to the Elite Eight. Thursday, March 28th at 7:39 p.m. Eastern Time. San Diego State just barely beat UAB, then demolished Yale, who beat Auburn in a close one. Who would have thought that? So it's number 5 San Diego State versus number 1 UConn. I'm going to probably take UConn. I don't think UConn's going to lose to San Diego State, but you never know. Could be a big upset coming in the making. Then you moved on to the next one, and you had Texas take care of Colorado State to advance to play Tennessee, who demolished St. Peter's. And then Tennessee just barely beat Texas. It was a close and hard-fought game on Saturday. Tennessee will play Creighton at number 3, who demolished Akron and then took down Oregon after Oregon got a big upset over South Carolina. So it's number 3 Creighton versus number 2 Tennessee, Friday, March 29th at 10:09 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to rock with Tennessee. Then you have Grambling taking on number 1 Purdue. And Purdue absolutely demolished them on Friday. You had Utah State take down TCU in a thriller, which they demolished them. And then Purdue just beat the shit out of Utah State. They killed them by 39 points. And then Gonzaga takes down McNeese by killing them. Then Gonzaga demolishes Kansas, who Kansas just barely beat Sanford. And to be honest, I think Sanford should have went there because they got ripped off. And it should have been a block, but they called a foul. And then Kansas played Gonzaga, where Kansas got demolished by Gonzaga. And now number 5 Gonzaga will play number 1 Purdue Friday, March 29th at 7:39 p.m. Eastern Time. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the bracket that we have here, we had Purdue versus Kansas, and we had Kansas winning. I don't like Purdue. I think I'm going to rock with Gonzaga. I'm going to go with the Gonzaga to take down Purdue. So let's go Gonzaga. What an upset that would be. And then we move down to the last but not least part of the bracket. We had Colorado take down Florida in a thriller. And then Marquette takes down Western Kentucky. And then Marquette just barely beats Colorado. Oakland shocks the world and takes down my Kentucky Wildcats. Then Oakland just barely loses to NC State. What a fight they had. NC State moves on to face number 2 Marquette Friday, March 29th at 7:09 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm riding with NC State, man. I got my boys NC State winning this. One of my brackets, I got NC State winning it all. So let's go NC State. Number 9, Texas A&M take down number 8 Nebraska in a big upset. And then Houston demolishes Longwood, where Texas A&M just barely lost to Houston. This was one hell of a fight, but Houston prevails, and they will face number 4 Duke, who Duke beat Vermont. They killed them and then demolished James Madison, and James Madison upset Wisconsin. So now it'll be number 4 Duke versus number 1 Houston, and I'm going to go on Friday, March 29th at 9:39 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to go number 1 Houston, getting the dub over Duke. But other than that, guys, we are going to move on from the men's, and we're going to go on to the women's bracket. So let's get right to that. So I'm going to get you guys right there and right into it. So if you look at this, we're going to share my screen again. I'll share it so you guys can see what the hell's going on. Okay. Let me know. Okay, you guys can see it. So for the women's bracket, we had a similar thing. We had South Carolina demolish Presbyterian. They killed them. Then UNC just barely beat Michigan State in a tough one. And then South Carolina demolished UNC. They killed them by they demolished them. It was just bad. They beat them. They killed them. They killed them by I think it was 40. They killed them by 47 points. That's ridiculous. If I'm not mistaken, yeah. Because killed them by 47. 47. Then you had number 4 Indiana demolish Fairfield. Then you had Oklahoma just barely beat FGCU. Where now number 4 Indiana will play number 5 Oklahoma today at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe on my bracket here, on this bracket, I believe I picked Oklahoma to win this game. Yep, Oklahoma will win this game against Indiana. Then you had Oregon State demolished Eastern, I think it was Eastern Washington. And then Texas A&M loses a close one to number 6 Nebraska, where then Oregon State takes down Nebraska by 10 to advance. Then you had Kent State get demolished by Notre Dame. Then you had Ole Miss kill number 10 Marquette. And then you have a matchup that's happening right now in the first quarter when Notre Dame's up by 9 against Ole Miss, which I got Notre Dame winning to play Oregon State in the next round. Then you had number 1 Texas demolish Drexel by 40. Then you had Alabama get the win, 8-point win over Florida State, where now number 1 Texas takes down Alabama by 11 to advance to the next round, where Gonzaga takes down UC Irvine. Then Utah takes down San Diego State, where now Gonzaga will play Utah today at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I have Gonzaga winning this game. Yes, I do. I have Gonzaga taking the win over Utah. Then on Friday, we had Iowa State take down Maryland in a close one. You had Stanford demolish Norfolk State. Stanford gets the 8-point win in overtime, a 6-point win of overtime over Iowa State to advance to the next round. You had Tennessee demolish Green Bay. You had NC State takes down Chattanooga. And you had NC State playing Tennessee today at 4, where I believe I have NC State moving on. If I'm not mistaken, yes, I have NC State moving on to face Stanford in the next round. Then you had Baylor take and demolish Vanderbilt. You had Virginia Tech demolish Marshall, score 92 points. And you had Baylor take down Virginia Tech in a close one by 3 to advance to the next round. You had Michigan lose in overtime to Kansas. You had USC demolish Texas I think it's Texas A&M something. Then you have USC taking on Kansas at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, where I have USC advancing to the next round to face Baylor. Then you have Syracuse take down Arizona. You had UConn take down Jackson State, where UConn and Syracuse will play it out today at 6 p.m., where I have UConn advancing. Then you have number 15 Maine getting demolished by Ohio State. You have Duke beating Richmond. Then you have Duke upsetting number 2 Ohio State, which I did not see that one coming. Duke will await the winner of the Syracuse and UConn game, which will be UConn versus Duke. Then you have the Holy Cross get demolished by Iowa and Caitlin Clark. And then you have West Virginia take down Princeton by 10. And you have Iowa taking on West Virginia today at 8 p.m. Last game for Caitlin Clark in Iowa City. You got Iowa advancing to face Colorado, where Kansas State takes down Portland. And then Colorado beats Drake. And then Colorado upsets Kansas State. Did not see that one coming. So Colorado will play Iowa. Then you have Middle Tennessee taking down Louisville in a crazy comeback. And then you have LSU taking down Rice by 10. And then you have LSU demolishing Middle Tennessee. So they await the winner of this Creighton versus UCLA, where Creighton took down UNLV pretty handily. And UCLA killed Cal Bestis. And now it's number 7 Creighton taking on number 2 UCLA today at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where UCLA would advance to take on LSU. So that's pretty much the women's side of things, going over what's happening there. And now we are going to move on to our second segment here on the Fire Sports Pod. We're going to go into the NFL announcing some rule changes. We have some rule changes, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully for the better. But we'll see what happens in the near future when it comes to these rule changes. But right now, we are going to be going over that. So let's get right to it. The NFL approved changes by Detroit amends Rule 15, Section 1, Article 1 to protect the club's ability to challenge a third ruling following one successful challenge by competition committee. Amend Rules 14, Section 5, Article 2 to allow for an enforcement of a major foul by the offense prior to a change of possession in a situation where there are fouls by both teams. Competition committee amends Rule 12, Section 2 to eliminate potential dangerous tackling technique. It is a foul if a player uses the following techniques to bring a runner to the ground: grabs the runner with both hands or wraps the runner with both arms and unweights himself by swerving and dropping his hip/lower body, landing on and trapping the runner's legs or below the knee. Penalty for hip drop tackle, loss of 15 yards, and an automatic first down. So that's pretty much that. We had a lot of different rule changes, but that's one of the biggest ones, where we had a crop-block tackle back in the divisional round when it came to Tony Pollard, and he was out for the foreseeable future for Dallas. and that really hindered him last year when he really wasn't as explosive because he killed his knees. I mean, it was there. But again, for the defensive side of things, how do you want these people to tackle? Like, I get it. I get it. Player safety, I'm all for it. But man, like, it's getting hard for defenses to play. Might as well just have freaking robots play against the offense because you can't tackle. You can't hit at the head. You can't do it. You can't lay on the guy in a different way. If not, it's a penalty. You can't talk trash anymore. Then it's a penalty. There's a lot of stuff that back then this would have never happened. I mean, the hits that we've seen, that I've looked at on YouTube back then when the game was still the game, holy Jesus, people would be fined thousands upon millions of dollars and be kicked out of the NFL for the crap that they pulled then. So the fact of the matter is that they can't do it now. It's just kind of a little bit of an embarrassment. I think the NFL really's got to get into it. I get the player safety. There's been a lot of other rules that happened, changes that happened. I'm just going to go over the rules that did happen. I was going to go over some of the rules that didn't go through, but there's really not. The hip drop tackle we just talked about. Getting a third challenge as well. The teams will be permitted a third challenge if it is successful at least one or both of its challenges. If a team wins both challenges, a fourth challenge will not be permitted, though the maximum amount of challenges a team can have is 3 in a game. Now, double foul. We now have a situation where double foul will change of possession. If the team's last in possession does not have clean hands, when it establishes possession, the penalty's offset. And the down is replayed at the previous spot. Clean hands, meaning no infringements. If both team foul after the last change of possession, double foul after change of possession, or the offense commits an unnecessary roughness or an unsportsmanlike conduct foul before the change of possession, the penalties are offset, and the team's last possession shall retain the ball at the spot where the foul was and would be enforced if it was the only foul. A little bit of a different thing. There's been a lot of rules that didn't go through. There's one that's staying inside of the committee's further date. We'll see if it changes, which is by competition committee for 1 year only amends Rule 6 to create a new form of a free kick play that is designed to, 1, resemble a typical scrimmage play by aligning players on both teams closer together and restricting movement to reduce space and speed, and 2, to promote more returns, permits the replay official automatically review whether a free kick legally touched the ground or a receiving team player in the landing zone, put to a table for a later vote. So we'll see if that passes or that gets cut. But yeah, we had some big announcements came today. I mean, you guys let me know in the comment section what you guys think about these rule changes. I certainly don't think, I think the hip drop tackle for the offensive side of things is appropriate because there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong if those things, but for the defense, how are you supposed to tackle him now? It's like, yo, okay, cool. I prevent my guys, my friends that I know in the NFL, my fellow players that I go to war with or go against from getting injured, seriously injured. But then how am I supposed to do my job correctly? Like, just think about that, ladies and gentlemen. How is the defense supposed to do their job correctly? Like, even if you play like a video game, Madden, and whatever the case is, you see that all the time. But at the same time, you don't understand that there's actually players there. So the fact doesn't matter. How can the defense do their job and fulfill their contract towards their team and their coaches? You can't, because you can't tackle nobody. You can't hit them hard, can't hit them in different spots. You got to basically like be like a feather and hold them down. That's it. That's all you could do, because if not, it's a flag and it's a penalize against your defense and your team. That's the problem with all these rule changes. But again, not saying I'm not for it. I'm all for player safety, without a doubt. I don't want to see these guys getting hurt, injured, killed, whatever the case is. But the fact of the matter is you got to look at it both sides. Offensively, this is great. Defensively, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? You guys let me know in the comment section what you guys think of the crock block tackle getting taken out, of the third challenge, which I think is pretty good. I like the third challenge. You'd be able to challenge a little bit more things, at least if one's successful or both, but you don't get a fourth one, so it's not going crazy, but at least you get that extra challenge late in the game. And then the double foul call. It's a little bit confusing, that double foul call. I'm not so crazy about that, but the crock block is like offensively, cool with it. Defensively, kind of like, yo, how am I supposed to tackle them? You know what I mean? But yeah, other than that, guys, it's a quick segment there. We moving on to just the Ohtani situation, because man, we got some news coming from there, ladies and gentlemen. Ohtani situation is ridiculous. Now, as we know, Shohei Ohtani is the best player in the game by far. Best player in the game by far. He's great talent, can pitch, can hit, can do it all. But Shohei Ohtani gambling story seems very complicated, which it is. There's a lot there. It's hard to follow. There are different versions and explanations and excuses. It's tempting to just ignore it until Major League Baseball decides what to do with it. What could potentially rank with the likes of Pete Rose and showless Joe Jackson? Here's the situation in a nutshell. Why would a legal bookmaker at the heart of the case, Matthew Boyer, extend 7 figures of credit to someone making less than 7 figures as an interpreter? Boyer, who was either too stupid to protect his interest or smart enough to know Ohtani was backing the bets made by EP Mazora. That's the light bulb that flashed and buzzed for me reading Saturday's item in the Washington Post that focused on Boyer's background and path becoming a bookie. Attorney Dion Bias, who represents Boyer, has tried to downplay a suggestion that Ohtani was placing bets. This is this is from Pro Football Talk, the Ohtani's gambling scandal in a nutshell. Reading it off of this. He never spoke with him, never met with him, never texted with him. Bass said regarding Ohtani, the only person he ever met with, spoke with, or texted with was Ipia. She also said Boyer, who had no athlete clients and she is aware of. In other words, he might. Bass likewise said that it is Mahara's proximity to Ohtani that prompted Boyer to keep extending credit to the interpreter. She said it was because Ohtani was Mahara's best friend, not his backer. Of course, once it came to light that the money straight from Ohtani's bank account was used to buy Boyer, the situation was categorized as a theft from Ohtani. So basically, the situation is one of these 3 things. Ohtani is a lot Leo of telling Mazara he's not very good at betting and should stop doing it. Told him that their friendship was strong enough to translate to an unlimited pool of gambling credit. 2, Ohtani allowed Mazara to get close enough to Commander Ohtani's bank accounts and stole the money. 3, Ohtani was one making the bets and Mazara was the conduct. From the bookies' perspective, only 2 and 3 make sense. Number 1 is the one thing that the bookie shouldn't trust. If the bookie is any good at making book and that they're very excuse, the book's lawyer is floating. So either Boyer isn't very good bookie, or Mazara or Ohtani aren't very good liars. Whatever happens, the NFL should be paying close attention because it's just a matter of time before the NFL is dealing with a similar scandal. That's why Pro Football Talk is talking about this, because this is going to happen most likely in the NFL as well, because we have a problem as well with that, where gambling on teams and players and your league is messing up, and then it's having players be suspended. Now, will Ohtani be suspended? Will Ohtani not play this year is yet to be seen, because we've seen in the NFL where players bet and all this stuff on their teams. Calvin Ridley suspended 1 year, not even blinking an eye, and he's not even as big as Ohtani. So if this comes out that Ohtani was actually betting and had something to do with this, then we got a problem. Because, I don't think it's a big problem for the betting and all that crap, but I do think for your organization and your leadership and player empowerment, there's a big difference with that. Because if you're caught as the best and the biggest name in the MLB doing this behind everybody's back and then getting caught and then saying he had nothing to do with it and then still getting caught on the top of it lying about it, then we have a much bigger problem than we already have. Now, with the NFL kind of things, they've already seen this happening, and it's happening and happening more and more and more. So it's just going to keep on happening. It's just until a big name like a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Micah Parsons, Saquon, Josh Tate, all these big house names do it. And then there's the problem. Then there's the NBA. Then there's the NHL. then there's the MLB, and then the NFL. And then we got all these players and all these teams and all these leagues doing this. And then there may become a rule where you can bet, you can gamble, because there's so many of these top players doing it if there comes to it. And now they got to change the rule because they're all getting suspended and no one's watching it. So we'll see what any of this comes about. But this is a crazy thing. We'll see if Ohtani does, in fact, get suspended or something else crazy happens with him. But I don't believe they are going to, because that would really hurt the MLB stock in general, because they're already having problems with people coming to games and even supporting the baseball because it's slow and it's boring to people. Not to me. I love baseball. I think baseball is one of the best sports out there. But that's just the way people think, and that's the way people are. So we gotta see how that goes with just in general and how everything is happening. But just in the general grand scheme of things, this is not a good look for the MLB and not a good look for Ohtani, no matter if he didn't do it or not. The fact that his interpreter got caught with it is a problem in itself. But yeah, other than that, guys, that's pretty much it. Quick 26-minute episode here on the Fire Sports Pod on March 25th. My birthday, turning 20 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate all the support. Keep it up. I love this shit. Let's get it. So we went over 3 segments. We went over the college basketball March Madness bracket for number 1 for the men's, the women's March Madness bracket, and just the synopsis of what's happening in the next round. We got the rest of the round of 32 tonight for women's, and then we move on to the Sweet 16, which will be taking place March 28th, March 29th, and March 30th, all next weekend. So I can't wait. It's going to be one hell of a ride for the rest of the games that we have. And we went over the NFL rule changings with the croc block tackle that's being taken out. Third challenge you're going to have as a team, and on top of that, you're going to have the double foul call. And then on top of that, we went over the Ohtani situation with the gambling and how the interpreter said in those 3 scenarios that might be happening, which ones make sense and which ones don't make sense, and how my perspective on it and how it will affect not just the NFL, but all the leagues around the sports world. Other than that, guys, have a great rest of your Monday. Peace out. I'm your host, Zack Jackson, on the Fire Sports Pod, where everything we do here is fire. I will catch you guys on Wednesday for our next show, which I most likely will have a special guest on. We'll see. Catch you guys later. Stay tuned to my TikTok. Might be going live tonight yet again. Peace out.